Once upon a time, nestled in a small, quiet village, there lived a boy named Kabir. He was exceptionally bright, with a wit as sharp as a tack, but he was held back by a single stubborn problem. He simply couldn't focus. His mind was like a restless bird, flitting from one thought to another, never settling in one place for long. Whenever Kabir sat down to do something important, like reading a book or tackling his homework, his mind would invariably wander. He'd find himself daydreaming about games, thinking about his friends, or getting lost in the allure of his phone. It was a constant battle, and one he was always losing. His father, a wise man in his own right, would often watch him and say, "Son, your mind is like a wild horse. If you don't learn to control it, it will carry you in the wrong direction. But if you can discipline it, truly tame it, it will take you anywhere you want to go." Kabir would nod, but the words never truly sank in. He didn't take it seriously. One sunny afternoon, feeling a mix of frustration and concern, Kabir's father decided it was time for a different approach. He took his son to meet Guruji, a revered teacher who lived on the edge of the village. Guruji was known far and wide for his wisdom and his unique ability to guide young people toward success. When they arrived, Guruji greeted them with a warm, knowing smile. He looked at Kabir, sensing the boy's inner turmoil without a word being spoken. He then went inside his humble home and returned with a small, simple glass filled to the very brim with water. "Kabir," Guruji said softly, handing him the glass, "I want you to walk around my garden. Your task is simple. Do not spill a single drop." Kabir took the glass, feeling confident. It sounded easy enough. He began his walk, his eyes fixed on the shimmering surface of the water. But the garden was alive with sound. Birds chirped beautiful melodies from the trees. A gentle breeze made the leaves rustle like secrets being whispered, and in the distance, he could hear the carefree laughter of children playing. Each sound was a tiny hook, pulling at his attention. He glanced at a colorful butterfly fluttering by, and a little water sloshed over the rim. He turned his head toward the sound of laughter, and another splash escaped. By the time he completed the circle and returned to Guruji, the glass was half empty. Guruji looked at the glass, then at Kabir, his expression calm. "Why did you spill so much?" he asked gently. Kabir looked down, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. I got distracted," he admitted, the words barely a whisper. Guruji nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "This glass," he explained, pointing to it, "represents your goal. The water inside is your focus, your attention. And all the noise you heard, the birds, the leaves, the laughter, that is the world's endless stream of distractions. If you don't train your mind to stay fixed on your purpose, you will lose what truly matters most, often before you even notice it's gone." For the first time, the lesson clicked. It wasn't just a story or a metaphor, it was a real, tangible experience. Kabir finally understood what his father and now Guruji were trying to teach him. The glass of water was his life, and he was spilling it away, one distraction at a time. From that day forward, a profound change began to take root in Kabir. He decided to start small, to build his discipline brick by brick. He began by waking up at the exact same time every single morning, creating a routine. He set strict limits on his phone use, putting it away when he needed to concentrate. And whatever he did, whether it was studying, helping his father, or even just listening to a conversation, he practiced giving it his full, undivided attention. He also started meditating for just a few minutes each day. He would sit quietly, close his eyes, and simply focus on his breath. It was incredibly difficult at first. His thoughts still wandered, like wild horses pulling in every direction. But each time they did, he remembered Guruji's lesson and gently, without judgment, brought his focus back to his breath. It was a constant practice of returning, of recentering. Days turned into weeks, and weeks blossomed into months. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, Kabir began to change. His memory grew sharper. The concepts he struggled with in school started to make sense. His grades, which had been average at best, began to climb steadily. He was no longer a slave to his impulses, he was becoming the master of his mind. A year later, a prestigious national competition was announced. It was an academic challenge of immense difficulty, involving complex problems that had to be solved under an incredibly tight time limit. It was the kind of high-pressure situation that would have sent the old Kabir into a panic. But this was a new Kabir. He decided to enter. On the day of the competition, the hall was filled with the brightest students from across the country. The air was thick with tension. As the clock started, many of his competitors began to panic, their anxiety visible. But Kabir remained calm. He remembered Guruji's lesson with the glass of water. He blocked out the noise, the pressure, the presence of others. He focused on the first question, pouring all his mental energy into it, just as he had focused on not spilling the water. Once it was solved, he moved to the next, and then the next, one step at a time, in a state of complete flow. When the results were finally announced, a hush fell over the crowd. The winner was Kabir. A wave of cheers erupted. In the audience, his father's eyes welled up with tears of joy. And somewhere in the village, Guruji smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Kabir had done more than win a competition. He had proven a timeless truth. A disciplined mind is far more powerful than raw talent, sheer luck, or even gifted intelligence. From that day on, Kabir was no longer known as the boy who couldn't focus. He was known as the boy who had mastered his own mind. If this story has lit even a small spark within you, don't let it fade away. That spark is the beginning of your own transformation. Like this video to keep that flame alive, and share it with someone who might need a little bit of hope on their journey. Make sure to subscribe so we can continue walking this path of strength and wisdom together. Remember, your next chapter of success, your greatest victory, begins the very moment you decide to discipline your mind. Why not start today?